how to play the ride cymbal the right way for drummers. Hey everyone, Quincy Davis here. Thank you so much for tuning in to this yet another Jazz Drum Q-Tip of the week. And if you know my channel, if you know my videos, then you'll know and you'll notice that this angle is slightly different than what I normally do. And that's because we're focusing on what? The ride cymbal, one of my favorite topics. So I'm going to just be tackling a bunch of issues that I noticed with drummers playing the ride cymbal. I was addressing the ride cymbal and some of the technique that's involved in one of my lessons with a mentee that I have. If you're interested in being mentored by me, let me know. Link is down below. But we were working on the ride cymbal, and there were some issues there that I noticed, not just with him, but with a lot of drummers. And so I thought I'd make a video. I haven't done this in a long time, and I don't think I've ever made a video like this from this angle. And I think many of you are going to find this helpful. So if you guys are ready, you know what time it is. Let's go. All right, so something I noticed, I'm just going to be tackling a few issues that I noticed. The first one being a lot of drummers don't lift the stick, and I just don't get it. When you don't lift your stick, you're creating more work for yourself, because as you lift and you come down, you're actually allowing the stick to rebound more, right? And maybe that's something you just practice. Practice doing that. Allow the stick to come up. Now, obviously, when we're playing in time, we can't allow the stick to come up that much. But if you're not utilizing that at all, then it starts to look stiff and you're playing down here. And that's not the right look, it's not the right technique, it's not the right sound or feel. Okay, so one thing I want you to do after practicing this, and notice I'm just throwing the stick at the cymbal and watching the stick bounce back. Now what I want you to do is just play quarter notes. Or what do they call them in England? Quavers. I think that's what they call it. You guys can correct me if you're in England and you're watching this. Let's play quavers on the ride cymbal. I've never said that word. Right? So, whoa. And you notice I'm allowing the stick to come up all the way. But I'm also controlling the stick somewhat. So I'm not doing this, and I'm not doing this. Allow the stick to kind of kick back, and you should feel it. And it creates just kind of a nice flowing kind of feeling quarter note that you should feel, okay? So practice that. And also notice I'm using my wrists predominantly at this tempo and for just playing quarter notes. I'm using wrists, but I'm not disallowing my fingers from relaxing and giving away a little bit, right? I'm not opening up, but I'm allowing them to be somewhat nimble, right? Not this, not this, not this. And not this. The combination of wrists and fingers gets you to this. Okay? Once you can do that comfortably at different tempos, by the way, you don't need a ride cymbal to practice that. You can practice it on a drum. It's the same technique. I'm not doing this. I'm not doing this, right? So once you can do that, then this is what I want you to do. I want you to practice playing quarter notes, and then I want you to practice and the height that you're lifting at for your quarter notes, I want you to lift the stick when you add your triplet, okay? Lift the stick to the same height when you add your triplet. And take it nice and slow if you have to. And if your hand is not relaxed, then you're going to feel tension here, and this is not going to be easy. And you're going to notice that your stick height, when you add your triplet often, starts to diminish. So you go from this, nice and relaxed, to this. And then you start to involve your arm in weird ways. And we don't want that. So make sure that's just kind of a good barometer if you're allowing the stick to lift at the same height as your quarter notes. Then you know, okay, I must be lifting and I'm staying relaxed. Now, to get that da-ding, ding, da-ding, what I do, and everyone's a little different, I'm kind of squeezing with my fingers. And you can isolate that kind of, I guess you could call it a snap, right? You should isolate that. Notice right before I play, I'm lifting and then coming down. So I'm kind of squeezing my fulcrum, and as I get faster, I'm using my fulcrum and I'm also using my fingers. And I'm squeezing to create that quick snap. Da-ding, da-ding, da-ding. Again, you can practice it on, I guess you don't need your left hand, but. Okay? So that's going to get you in the door with just basic good technique and a basic good sound, okay? Again, don't be stiff. Don't be overly relaxed with your fingers. Don't do that. Make sure it's a combination of your wrists and your fingers. As you get faster, you lean more towards your fingers, although you want to keep using your wrists. Slower tempos, you can use more wrists than fingers, to the point where you don't need your fingers at all. And you need to isolate, as I'm doing, I'm only playing the ride cymbal. Isolate the ride cymbal and play it for 20, 30, 45, 1 hour. Play it for a long duration so you can really hone your technique. Check out my bass play-alongs. Many of you have checked those out. I think you'll find it helpful because you can kind of gauge which tempos you're playing, and it's very helpful. So I practice with them. You should check them out. I'll put the link down below. So that's one of the first things. I guess that was kind of a long first part of this video, but very important. Probably the most important. I want to also talk about this technique where you're emphasizing. I'm going to show you kind of a drill or exercise of creating more of the Kenny Clark. If you don't know who Kenny Clark is, look him up. One of the pioneers of bebop drumming. A great big band drummer, but also a great small group bebop player who really kind of his trademark sound, and one of the things he's known for is that ride cymbal and really creating a certain feel. So to really get that feel, he would play the ride cymbal or the quarter notes at all the same tempo. All the same dynamic. Right? While the non-quarter notes, the skip beat, is quiet. So again, I was working on this with my man Chris one of my mentees in a lesson, and the exercise I showed him, and it's an exercise I do with my students at the school, is you play 2 measures of quarter notes, 3, 4, 2, and then you add your skip beat. When you add your skip beat, you do not, I repeat, you do not want to sacrifice the quarter note. Your quarter note should stay the same, okay? Volume-wise. So, observe. 2, 2, now skip beat. And then back to quarter notes. 2, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, 3, 4, 4, 2. Okay? And that's the exercise. Sorry, I messed it up. So I'll do it without talking now. Okay, you got it? And this is something you can practice. I like practicing it on a drum or even on a hi-hat, so you can really hear that quarter note, and then you add your skip beat. And your quarter note should not change. Really great exercise. Okay, that's a great exercise for getting that beat together to make sure that you're staying accountable for the quarter note and keeping that forward momentum while adding your skip beat. Okay, and the last thing I want to show you, I got a little gnat that wants to get in the video. Hey, everyone wants to get in the video. I get it. The last thing I want to show you is faster tempos. Now, again, everyone's technique is different. I think my technique is a little weird, honestly. When I look at it, I'm like, that's what it looks like? That's weird. But it works for me, and it also, I'm not straining. But the main common denominator with everybody who plays the ride cymbal well, remember what this video is called. I got to remind myself. How to play the ride cymbal the right way for drummers, right? Even though there's a lot of different approaches, there's still a right and wrong pretty much, right? So when I see a drummer going like this, that's simply the wrong way, right? You can hear it, you can feel it, you can see it. So it should look easy. So I'm kind of involving all my fingers. But before I even get into my fingers, I'm lifting the stick with my wrist. Boom. So you constantly see this. Whoa. Right? Which is the same as slower tempos. It's just you're speeding it up. And again, you should isolate this and do this for 20 straight minutes with just the ride cymbal. Check out my bass play alongs. It's a good way to practice with a bass player, but in a very metronomic way, okay? And to gauge what tempos you're kind of strong at and where you break. What tempo do you break at? Don't stop lifting. See that? See how I'm lifting? You do not want to stop lifting, okay? Whatever you do. And it makes it, maybe it makes it slightly trickier or harder because you're maybe not used to using your wrist in that way. But trust me, that's the way you want to go, okay? That's it. I wasn't going to do a video this week because I'm stupid busy. I got all kinds of stuff on my plate before I get really, really busy and I leave town. But this, I felt like this was necessary, and so this is very impromptu, slightly different setup, but hopefully it was really helpful. And you know what to do now, right? You know what to do. Practice hard. What? But practice smart. Take care. Peace.